The following is a production of the Dallas Genealogical Society. For more information, please visit our website at dallasgenealogy.com.
Okay, my clock shows the bottom of the hour, so being the punctual German, at least the 3/5 of me that is German that I am, we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Welcome everybody to our May meeting. I keep mentally always still want to say March, but the year is progressing faster than my brain is to keep up with it, I think. But hopefully everybody can see my screen. Let me back up just one. And I want to point out, if you notice at the top, if you attended the Dallas Society meeting last week, you learned that they've gone through a branding exercise and now have a new sort of presence on the web in terms of a logo and a color scheme and the like. And this is it we have up here at the top of our screen. Welcome you to our group. Ann and I are both on. We're the co-leaders of the group. And we'll remind you a couple times, we do have a Facebook group, as well as you may have already found this off the Dallas Society website. There is pages for our society. So we'll start off with a couple announcements. First of all, something that's just come up very recently for if you use the Myers Gazetteer, which is myersgaz.org. When you're looking for a city, you have the name of a city, and you're trying to figure out how many towns have that name, where they might be located. This is a very useful site. It used to be you had to go look at pages and decipher the Gothic print and all the different abbreviations and other codes they had for it. A few years ago, a couple of volunteers at the Family History Library in Salt Lake City digitized the whole thing. Now it's much easier to do and use, although one thing that's just come up, they have these older maps. Again, the Gazetteer was published in 1912 of all that was the German empire at the time, all the populated places. And they have these old maps that come from the Newberry Library, but they also had current maps that they were getting from Google. But just in the past week, when you go to the site, you now see this error message. And essentially what's happening is Google recognizes that a lot of websites use their maps, and Google is a for-profit business. So they're interested in making money from their maps and other services, so that they require people that use the link to their maps and are popular sites that get lots and lots and lots of views actually set up an account and get what's called an API key, and then that allows people to use those maps. Well, somewhere along the line, just in the last week or so, it caught up to the Myers Gazetteer. So now, while you still see the historic maps, the current maps that come from Google are not available. And we'll have to wait to see how this may get resolved one way or another. In terms of some upcoming presentations from other societies, the St. Louis Society will have a presentation in the middle of next month by Carol Witten on German settlement in Missouri. And the link to that is down here at the bottom. And again, if you joined us late, we do record these sessions, and the recording will be available on our website, again, linked off the Dallas Society site. But that will be in June. You can get added to their email list to get notifications and can register. And if you're a member, then of course you also get links to a lot of other information as well. Also on that site, they have a couple of the recordings and the handouts of some of their previous presentations. There's two of them up there right now. And again, you go to the website, scroll down near the bottom of that page. There's one on what day is it, interpreting dates. We, of course, had the Julian calendar and then the Gregorian calendar, and also the religious calendar that often when they talk about a religious function, a baptism, a marriage, or like they may say something like, well, that was on Whit Sunday. And then you're saying, what, when, where? And there's a presentation that will help you with that. And then the sort of more general one on German genealogy, what do you need to know? So those are both available through the St. Louis Genealogical Society. Of course, the big conference coming up will be in July. And again, we won't be meeting until after that in the fall. That's the International German Genealogy Partnership. The original plan, of course, as everything else, it was going to be an in-person meeting as it had been in the past. But because of the pandemic, it's a virtual meeting. There'll be both live presentations and a number of recordings. There's a couple different levels of joining that you can do, everything from just seeing the live ones to all the way up to getting a thumb drive with recordings of all the presentations that you can view at your leisure for as long as you want. And the link is there. They did have early bird pricing and then extended it to the end of last month, but now that's expired. So at least at this point, there's only just the regular pricing for those. We have some nice, exciting news from the two large libraries. First of all, the Dallas Library is open on a limited basis. As of this week, historians and genealogists can make a 2 to 3 hour appointment with the library staff when the library is open. And on Wednesdays, that's 11 to 7. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is 10 to 6. And you go ahead and make an appointment either by email or phone number is there at the bottom. You will be required to wear a mask, stay 6 feet away, unless it's you and someone from your household. They do have sanitizing stations available, and the restrooms have been updated with now touchless equipment to keep things a bit more sanitary. And they're also excited they have new elevators in the library. Remember those old clunky things we used to ride up and down, where they took the opportunity while the library has been closed to actually install new elevators. So you can look forward to that as well. So again, you have to make an appointment, even if you just want to go in and browse. You do have to still make an appointment. You just can't show up. But now that is something that is available to us, something you can take advantage of. And if you're familiar with their maker spaces, the one that was the most interest to us as genealogists is the Heritage Lab, also up there on the 8th floor, where they have the big fancy scanner and they have ways to copy and digitize home movies and audio cassettes and the like. And that's now also available on a reservation basis. That you do need to go through a little bit of uh, viewing some online training. They're not going to be available to help you at this time, but if you used it before and you want to get back to using it again, we have the links are there. And then Ed from the library who's on the call had put in the chat, and I don't know, Ann, if you've copied that back in the chat again, a form you can also use. So you can call or use the form, make a reservation. Calling might be the best at this point because you don't know who else is making reservations. Right now, it's not obviously very many people, but that hopefully will become more popular as time goes on. So that's the Dallas Library. In the Fort Worth Library, there's been changes there as well. I always sort of thought the top floor, the street level, was almost the shell, although it did have the meeting rooms there, the checkout desk, the youth area, and the like. But all the sort of stacks of books and stuff were all down in the basement. Well, that's been there a long, long, long time. I've been in the area since 1994. I remember even when they had built the new top part of the library, the basement was there, and it basically said they really haven't done as much preventive maintenance as they would like to do on it. So at this point, the basement is closed. So again, you can make appointments with researchers. If you're interested in particular books or something, they can have those available and bring them up to you, and then you can meet with them up on the street level. to go ahead and go through your work, or if you want to sit down and talk with one of them and get some suggestions and advice to where you are with your research, that certainly is available. So the libraries are open, but in this case, they by appointment. So you do need to schedule ahead of time and observe all the social distancing and the like. Their other news is, this was supposed to pop up. They're going to be moving over the summer, the genealogy local history branch, down to the seminary location. The seminary branch is going to move into that mall that's down there, into a retail space where the Radio Shack used to be. And the genealogy and local history folks will then move all that stuff that has been in downtown to seminary, which means you won't have to worry about one-way streets. You won't have to worry about where do you park, and do you have to pay to park, or is it time when it's free to park or whatever. And the parking spaces are right there in front of the building. So it's going to be a lot more convenient for folks to do that. That will happen sometime in the late summer, because first the branch library has to move into the mall, and then they'll do a little cleaning and painting and whatever. And then of course they have to move everything from the main library, the genealogy history section, to that branch, and then get that opened. So again, that's some additional good news in terms of access and a sort of newer updated facility for the genealogy research, those of us who make use of the Fort Worth Library. Remember always to check our Facebook group. We did have an issue for a little while of the gatekeeper was away from the post, and some of you may have answered the questions but never got admitted. We apologize for that, but if that's happened, please come back now and go ahead and do that. We only meet every other month, and we don't meet during the summer as a German genealogy group. So this is a way where we can provide you with more recent and interesting information. A couple of examples of posts of this put up there recently. 10 must-knows to decipher your ancestors, some best websites, German genealogy terms, and some links to other upcoming webinars by German genealogical societies, both here and in Germany. And the ones in Germany, they are given in many cases in English. There are some, of course, that are just in German. So again, we welcome you to join our Facebook group and keep up with information in between all the meetings. So at this point, we'll ask Anne, go ahead and do the poll. We just want to check to see who all do we have here.
So, Bernard, do you
Yes.
have the poll? Because my
okay.
I think that you might have it disappeared from me, so you might have it.
Oh, you're logged in from another device. Your polling session is inactive.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay, that's why I can't find it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll just skip that.
Okay. Well, we'll have to pass that part up. So for the format for this meeting, it's a little bit different in terms of we don't have a program with the presenter. We thought we'd like to make this a little bit more about all of you folks in terms of whatever research you're doing, where you're at, if you've made some recent discoveries, if you have success stories, some challenges or brick walls that you're stuck with, if you have some questions or needs or whatever, and we as a group can sort of help each other. Now I'll take the chairman's prerogative and sort of lead off. And we don't expect you to have graphics like I do, but just sort of help you sort of figure out what I was doing. For me, my discovery got through a brick wall was a newspaper article, but not in terms of vital records, but actually a society page. And this is about the son of the sister of my great-grandmother, which got me through and figuring out exactly who was my great-grandmother. This is the page from the Beaver, Pennsylvania Times. Beaver is down the Ohio River a little bit from Pittsburgh. I'm a native of Pittsburgh. And it mentions in Rochester at a glance, Rochester is another little suburb of Beaver and Beaver Falls, that a Miss Mary Cushion of Allegheny, which is that part of what's now Pittsburgh across the river where the baseball and football stadiums are. That used to be a separate town. But Mary and a Mr. Charles Dearkin of Homestead returned to their home after several weeks, and the latter's relatives, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Meissner of this place. Joseph Meissner is my great grandfather. And surprisingly, this was on the My Heritage site. We usually consider My Heritage to be an international site, and something like Ancestry.com or the Family Search would have particularly American sorts of things. But My Heritage is actually digitized OCR Pennsylvania newspapers. So I just did a search when I was on the site for Joseph Meissner, my great grandfather. Sort of shows how it all fits in. Here's me, there's my parents, there's my grandfather. You can see where the name Bernard has sort of come from. Joseph's brother off here to the side was another Bernard. But my main interest was Joseph's wife, Rose Ott, and trying to figure out where'd she come from, who were her parents, what was her family. And that was the issue I was facing. And that society column page sort of helped me out. This is her death certificate. She died in 1925. The informant was my great grandfather, her husband, so has reasonable knowledge. But again, you always have to be careful of things that occurred before the time of the death. And if we focus in particularly on the left-hand side, first of all, date of birth, February 25th, 1925. Well, she died in 1925. So here's a mistake. She was, in fact, 76 years and 24 days old. And if we figure that out, means she was really born on the 25th of February of 1849. And for her parents, she was born in Pittsburgh, allegedly. And her parents were a John Ott and a Christina Summer. We figured out with a lot of help that's an S because of some other handwriting. But Summer, Simmer, whatever, I still have a little bit of a hassle trying to figure out exactly the maiden name of my great grandmother. So it's John Ott, born Chesapeake Rose, is apparently born in Pittsburgh, allegedly. And I couldn't figure out where it was. So I was sort of looking at all the John Otts in Pennsylvania, anywhere and anywhere. And here we have a case of here they are in the census. And they have a daughter of about the right age, but it's a Henrietta, not a Rose. And another key to solving this is going to be Henrietta's sister, Mary. And we see that from this census, John and Christina were born in Baden, in Germany. All the children were born in Pennsylvania. And this is in a town called Brady's Bend, which is about 55 miles up the Allegheny River from Pittsburgh. And it's also a little bit of a challenge because the river map is the boundary between two counties. So if they just took the ferry across the river, or later when a bridge was built, they could walk across, get married or whatever, and actually be in a different county, which means a different location of records. Now, the challenge I had was in 1870, Henrietta's enumerated with her family in Brady's Bend. And here is Rosa, who I know is my great grandmother, in Pittsburgh as a servant for Matthias Schwartz and his family. So then I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be two different people. Henrietta and Rose aren't the same person. They don't have the same name. In 1870, they're enumerated in two different locations. So again, there's the kicker, and it's really this Charles Dearkin in Homestead is the key to solving the brick wall. What we find is searching at the Historical Museum up in Armstrong County. And again, here's East Brady and Pittsburgh's down here. Here's the Allegheny River. So you could first go up and down for 1,000 years before the river was the way the Native Americans got back and forth. But then later the railroad as well. So you could hop on a train and get to Pittsburgh. And there in that library, we find someone did an extraction from the local newspaper and discovers that a Jacob Dearkin marries a Mary Ott. And remember, Mary Ott is Henrietta's sister. So she is now Mary Dearkin. So we have a Joseph Dearkin visiting the Meissners, and here's a Jacob Dearkin and a Mary Ott. If I look at the 1900 census in Homestead, which is up the Monongahela River a little bit, and where my dad was born and raised, there we see Mary with Jacob, and lo and behold, they have a son, Charlie. So that's sort of leading more and more to Mary is Henrietta's sister. Charlie, her son, is visiting the relatives, which is Henrietta and her husband, Joseph Meissner. So the Dearkin name, because I had done this collateral research, was sort of picked up, got my brain. And then when I was looking, this is Christina, my great-great-grandmother, Christina Ott, at least, Henrietta and Mary's mother. This was on Ancestry. And there's a comment by a D. Dearkin about what's the date on the headstone. I'm going, Dearkin, D. Dearkin, what is this? So, if you click on it, you discover, oh, wait, she's on my DNA match list. Now she's a fourth to sixth cousin, and I was really paying attention to seconds and thirds. So I really want to go into the weeds of the fourth, fifth, and sixth, but discovered, lo and behold, now we have a DNA match and we have a paper document. And in fact, if we look at Ancestry's through lines, we find here's me, here's Steve Dearkin, here's her family that goes up to Mary Ott, Henrietta's sister, and here through my line is Henrietta Rose, and in fact, there is the John Ott. So I was able to go through, starting with having done the collateral research of keeping track of all the Otts and the Ott families, and then finally getting that society column link that linked her son, or actually here, Mary's son, Charles, visiting with my great grandfather. Actually, it's up here. He's visiting up here, Henrietta and Joseph. And they're from Homestead. Later, my great grandparents moved to Homestead, and the third sister also moved to Homestead. So they all ended up being in Homestead at the end of the time. So that was my discovery. And now I'll sort of ask each of you if you have something that you want to share. And I know Marianne had mentioned already she's excited about a discovery she had. So Marianne, do you want to tell us what you found? Again, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, okay. This is about my German great-grandparents, who are the immigrant people coming into the United States. And finding, although I have a rough date of when they immigrated from his name was Johann Gerhard Booms. Ended up going by John because Gerhard apparently confused everybody to death in the United States. At any rate, his naturalization and declaration papers say that he arrived in the United States in June 1872, and I have never been able to find the passenger list for that entry. I even read every single roll of film at the downtown library looking for it and could not find it. I was lucky enough when I first started doing this to find them on a trip coming back from Germany in October of 1880 with several of their children. I knew they had made at least 2 trips back to Germany because my Aunt Gertrude, who was named after my great-grandmother, had told me that they had traveled back several times. I also knew they had been there in 1887 because their second youngest son had been born there, and that's recorded on his World War draft record where it says, I was born in Germany in 1887, but I'm a United States citizen because my father was naturalized before I was born. And could never find that passenger list for them coming back either. And so I watched a webinar this year called Find a Boatload of Passenger Lists on My Heritage. It was one of the Legacy Family Tree webinars, and they had a boatload of lists of various passenger lists. And I ran into one called Passenger Lists of Vessels Arriving at New York, 1820 to 1897. And I had searched that passenger list on Ancestry, and at the time, Family Search that I was looking, Family Search didn't have it, and never found anything. But what the heck? So I tried it on My Heritage, and up popped Gerhard. Now the last name was spelled wrong. It was B-O-O-N-S instead of B-O-O-M as in Mary S. But it had Gerhard, his wife, and 8 of their children coming back from Germany. And it's a terrible image, so I give great kudos to the people at My Heritage for doing the great job they did of transcribing that record to make it recognizable enough for me to find this. The problem is I still haven't found that 1872 list, and I'm still trying. One of the issues is the fact that you probably, because you're also involved with German research, you probably know that people had to have permission to emigrate from Germany. And I want to mention another webinar I just watched presented by a outfit called Family Tree Tours. Their website is familytreetours.com. And their main business is, as you might imagine, tours of Germany for genealogical purposes. But when everything shut down because of COVID, she started doing webinars. Her name is Kathy Worth, W-U-R-T-H. And she just had a very extensive webinar on what the actual procedure was to emigrate from Germany and all the paperwork that was involved and why they would be barred from emigrating. And when I went to Germany in 2015, the genealogist I had hired there showed me an image from a book, and I have a copy of it, that said my great-grandparents had left without permission. And he said that may be why I can't find them on a passenger list. He said they may have worked their way across. He said they may have used false names going across. And I have found other names they used in the United States, still haven't found that passenger list. But the interesting thing to me was both about the fact that My Heritage had this really good transcription of a really bad image in that list. I really like My Heritage for 2 reasons. Number one, because a lot of the people they have doing their transcriptions are natives, and so they find reading the language much easier. And the other reason is somehow they sometimes just get hold of records that, other people don't have. And you can set up a search and they will continue to search for that person. And they have found other ancestors of mine coming on passenger lists that I was never able to do. But the thing about my great-grandparents coming without permission is Kathy gave a very complete list of the kinds of things that would keep them from emigrating. One was the man had not fulfilled his military service. The second was if you were one of them was abandoning their family. My grandmother was the sole surviving child, and she would have been, great-grandmother, would have been required to support her parents in their old age. I don't know if Gerhard ever did his military service or not, There also was a problem because they were from drastically different social levels. And as you know, Germany was very rigid about who could marry whom. And so they were not allowed to do that. Plus, her father, according to what my Aunt Gert told me, was very opposed to the marriage. And so, as my Aunt Gert put it, they ran away to the United States. Their marriage license actually has a different name for my great grandfather, same name for my great grandfather. But also, their first child was born 6 months after the marriage license was issued. So Gertrude had a pretty good reason for leaving for the United States besides all the official ones. And the interesting thing is in this webinar that Kathy Worth did just the other day, she actually lists a whole bunch of sources where you can find these permissions to emigrate. And it turns out that my great grandparents may have actually, the police may have actually put out arrest records for them, arrest warrants for them, because it was that serious a thing to emigrate without permission. So I have all these wonderful new things to explore to fill out things that, I'm still trying to figure out. That's my
Well, that's
story.
great. Somebody else had something?
I attended that webinar as well, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, that's great, Marianne. That seems like another little vote for my heritage there in terms of things you can find on the site. And also the importance, we always say in genealogy, time and place. We can't apply today's rules and norms to what society was like back then. It was a very structured sort of thing. The village had to take care of the orphans and widows. So they were reluctant to have orphans and widows. So that's why they wanted everybody to do their military service first before they could get married. In some cases, the village had to approve the marriage even. And there are cases, Warren Bittner, one of the national speakers, has one case of one of his relatives. It took them 12 years to get permission to get married. But of course, all along, they're still having kids.
Of course.
So you have lots of illegitimate births as well that occur. So thank you.
And as I mentioned earlier before the session started, one of the books that has extensive information on which archives have what kind of records, there are 2 copies of the book in the Dallas Library downtown.
Okay, great. So you'll be making your appointment to get down there and check
You
out the book. Or you can also contact the librarian and if you know specifically what you're looking for.
Actually, I found the book on Google Books, and it's not the whole book, but it's enough to get an idea of what's in it. And there's a lot there. It's much more than I would ask a librarian.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you have the name of the book?
Yeah, it's hang on. It is Ancestors in German Archives, A Guide to Family History Sources by Raymond S. Wright III. And I'll put that in the chat myself.
All right, great. Thank you,
Great,
Marianne.
thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, Gay. Anything you want to tell us about where you are, what you found, where you're stuck? Remember, okay, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
No, I haven't been working on it lately. So I haven't really anything to offer. I haven't been working on it.
Okay, what area have you found things already? People in Germany, you know where Germany to look, or are you still on this side of the ocean?
I have a notation about a town, but at the moment I can't remember what it is. And I was just looking a minute ago to see, but I didn't find it right off. So I'll have to look that up where I put down now. I think it's Baden, but I'm not certain. I know it's on the Rhine.
Okay, yeah, very good.
That the time frame is 1700s, 1740, 1750.
Okay. So you'd probably be limited in the church records, most likely, to find
Yes,
something back then.
yes, and they're hard to read.
Yeah, I took a whole course that Kathleen Schober has, and it sort of helped me a bit. That once she has in the course examples, in most cases, they're pretty reasonably clear documents. I have the ones where they wrote on the other side of the page and then the ink bled through, and makes for some challenges.
It's
But
hard.
if it was easy, we wouldn't necessarily want to do it. So
I do want to say to that whoever it was that was talking about getting their cousins started on genealogy, that I have a third cousin that I correspond with regularly, and it's been really helpful over the years. Plus, now we've never met, but I feel like she's a friend, and we share things online, and it's been really a good relationship to have developed. Plus, I have a first cousin that's very involved in it, particularly on our German line, and she does a lot of work on it, and is a member of the DAR now.
great.
So it's really great to have relatives involved.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me what your tricks with that I have discovered one more distant cousin on my Irish side. This recently I've been corresponding with, but trying to get any of my German folks interested or finding even other folks out there has been somewhat limited. So, but thanks, Dave, for that. Okay, Marlene, do you have anything?
Well, I'm trying to research my Landwehr family, and I've kind of hit a brick wall. My great grandmother came over in 1889, but I can't find her on any passenger list either. And I know she had a brother that came over to this country, but there was another brother and I believe two sisters who did not come over here. And I'm trying to find church records from Germany, but I'm having a difficult time with that too. So I've kind of hit a brick wall with this family. And I'm not even exactly sure what her first name was. She went by Helen or Helena. And then on her marriage license, it was Anna. And then initials RM. I have no idea what the initials stand for either. So I don't know even what name to look for exactly.
That can always be a problem in German where you have multiple names. You have the baptismal name and then the call name or roof name, what they actually went by, which would be often a second or third name. And you have lots of Annas and Marias and Johans that was a name given to my baptism, but they never ever really used, but may still show up in the document. So yeah, that's another part of the challenge of doing the research.
Well, I have a copy of her brother's baptismal record, but whoever found that one could not find one for her.
Okay.
So I thought that was curious too.
But
Do
you
you know
have
the
to
town? I'm sorry.
go ahead, Ann.
Do you know the town or the location that they're from in Germany?
Well, he was on his, it's Austin, Austen or IN. And it's just a little village. I think there's just only about 3 or 4 farms there now today. I've had other people kind of look for me and they didn't come up with anything more than I did. So it's kind of a brick wall. And I have been writing to a lady in Germany. I have cousins there. And she was going to send me an address for some church where I could maybe inquire to get some records. So, but I haven't heard from her yet with the address. So there's still a little bit of hope there that maybe I'll find them.
Okay, well, we'll wish you luck with that.
Thank you.
Zach Porter.
Oh, I didn't realize it still had my son's name on there.
Oh, okay.
Oops.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thanks. Sorry, he used my computer for school, and I forgot to change it. I'm working with Claudia, my cousin, who's actually on here too. Ed from the library invited me. And Marianne, I think I actually picked up that book that you were talking about just yesterday at the library. I was looking at that, the one about the different sources. That does look really interesting. We have a brick wall. We have a family. They had our great grandparents. They had 4 kids. 3 of the kids and the mother immigrated to the U.S., and we have those records. The one daughter stayed behind because she was married, and we cannot find any record of her at all. All we have found is we found her son that immigrated, and I have his naturalization certificate that lists when he was born in Leipzig. And I have the baptism records for all of her siblings, but I can't find one for her. We found a reference in her mother's obituary that said Mrs. Max Roths of Leipzig. So we've searched for her husband also, and we can't find any record of that. So the only sources I have right now are ancestry.com and Family Search. So if anybody has suggestions,
Okay.
love to hear them.
What time period are you looking at for over there?
Let's see. Well, her parents got married in 1865, and her next sibling was born in March of 1868. So we're guessing 1865 to 1867.
Mhm.
And her son was born in 1883. And all the other kids were born in Hohenmulsen. And we have the parents' marriage actually shows up in 2 different marriage indexes. And one, it says they were married in Hohenmulsen, and the other one says Grunau, Grunau, which is interesting.
Okay. Are those towns close to each other, or?
Yes, I looked. They're all kind of on the outskirts of Leipzig.
Okay.
I looked at the map on Myers Gazette. They're all pretty close to each other. Wasn't sure where else to look.
Did you look to see if they have the church records on Archean? You can actually look without paying.
Yeah, I had seen, I'm on some other German genealogy groups, and they had mentioned the Archeon, but I wasn't sure exactly how to go about using it.
Okay. It's not too bad, because when you click on it's archin.de, you can go and up at the top right it says DE, and if you click, it'll translate to English for you, and
Okay.
make it a little bit easier. And then you can do by using Myers, you can tell what the towns of the churches nearby are, and if you know they're Lutheran or Catholic, and Archeon is Lutheran records, and Matricula is Catholic records. So it depends on which religion they might be as well.
Yeah, I did find the church parish name on Myers Gazette. And I found a web link to that. But yeah, I thought I would check on Archeon before I went to having to, message the parish and see if they had anything.
Yeah, if you click on the search and you start typing in the name in the, let's see, I gotta translate to English here. If you type in the name in the location box of the search, it will tell you whether they have the records there or not. And at least you know if they're there, then you can get a small subscription to look at them. But at least you know what they have and what time periods they have.
Okay, and say the website again. It's ARCHION.de. Okay, that's okay. That's what I thought.
That Sounds like a possible suggestion for a future program we can do as a group to look
Yeah,
at
I need
both.
to, there was two programs. One that, what I wanted to kind of do it in a person meeting because it's a lot easier to do Archeon. And then the other one we wanted to do was, there was some other one that people wanted to, I forget what it was right this second, but there was two that we were going to try to do like a little workshop where people could, like watch and play with their computer at the same time, kind of thing, and look at using it. But those are more easier in person, but I'll still look to see if there's some online training. That was another thing I was going to try to find, but I didn't see any. There might be some in YouTube or something. Or
Yeah, my German relatives, at least all the one I know so far, were all Catholic. So,
Matricula is the one for you.
right, they're more Austria than Bavarian folks, at least. So, but at least for my Meisters, I found the church and the record. So, been lucky with that. But that took a little bit of work. So, but thank you for that. Okay, let's see. How about Mel? Is he still here? Oh, I don't see him here now.
No. I see Harmel. I'm sorry, Harmel. It says Barbara, but it doesn't look like a Barbara sitting there.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so the gentleman is listed as Barbara Harmel. Would you like to maybe say something? Tell us where you're at, what you're doing, anything you found, anything you're looking for?
Okay. Well, we can go on maybe.
Okay, how about Angela?
Angela.
That was me. I just fixed my name.
Oh, okay, I see. Yes. Okay.
So
Angela.
quick question. So you said on Archeon, when I put location, I need to put the parish name. Is that right?
Yeah, you put the parish name. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay.
So looking through my list. Let's see, Joanne Clements.
Hello.
Hello, Joanne.
Hi, this is my first time joining your group. Bernard, I think we were in a class together with Blaine Bettinger last year for DNA.
Oh, the remote class, yes.
Remote class. I am trying to find ancestors in Oldenburg and Ovelgun, which is in Lower Saxony. And the church records, I'm looking at Lutheran, and they're very scant for that area. So I've debated doing Archeon, but I think I'm going to have to do that. I inherited a photo album of pictures of a whole bunch of people in Oldenburg. I don't know if it was the custom then to, give each other a card with a picture, like how people used to drop by a card and visit. Because I can't imagine that these are all relatives, but I suppose it's possible. But so I have all these pictures, but I'm just trying to go back. I'm trying to find my great-grandfather in those records and his parents. So that's what I'm currently working on. I do have another line from Leipzig, but I have that traced back pretty far. That side brought the Missouri Synod to Missouri from Germany. He was a pastor, and so his records are pretty good. But it's the Oldenburg side that I'm kind of struggling with.
Okay, and again, what's the time period?
The time period would be the late 1800s 1870s, 1850s, around there.
Okay, because we get the civil registration starting maybe about 1876 or so. Before that, it's sort of exclusively the church records.
Yes, yes.
So, and besides online, there's more that's still offline than online. So sometimes it may require that if you can figure out what church it is, to check and see if there's someone over there who can do some research for you. Assuming the archives are open. In Germany, they've been open and closed. I think they're open basically again, but still sort of like what we have over here. I think they need to make appointments at this time. So, and often to look, there may be a Facebook group, some sort of local historical group or whatever that might be of some help as well. So,
That's a
some
good idea too.
other sources to sort of look for.
Yes. Does the Dallas Library have good stuff for researching German ancestors?
I think all in all, yeah, they're pretty good. They're one of the better libraries in the country.
Oh, great. I've only been there for seminars put on by you guys. I haven't actually been to the library.
Okay, well, this could be your opportunity to go ahead and make one of those appointments with somebody, and you may even get Ed.
Yeah. Okay.
He's one of their German experts who's there. Again, he's on the call but doesn't have a way to talk, so he's just been chatting. So that could be an opportunity if you can get down there during the times that they're open, make an appointment, and
If you go to the catalog and look at what they have for German genealogy, I found that they have tons of books that are held by the German Genealogy Society in their library up in Minnesota. And so their German section is really, really good. But one issue is all the German books aren't necessarily in the same place.
So that's why we call on Ed or one of the other librarians, that they
Ed
know or can figure out where everything is and get it. Particularly if you make an appointment, they can have them all ready for you when you walk in the door. It'll be a real
Ed always
productive.
knew exactly where they were.
So Ed made a comment in chat. Dig in, fill out the reservation forms. Come on down.
I'm sure they're really wishing they could see people again. They've been surrounded by only books or working at home for all this time. So they're willing to help you. So that's a good resource as well. So take advantage of those appointments.
Thank you.
I have a question. Where in Oldenburg do you have the name of a town? Because some of my relatives came from there too.
It's strictly Oldenburg, and it's Ovelgunge, which is right next to it. So my great grandmother was from Ovelgunge, and then it was close enough to Oldenburg, where my great grandfather was, that they met and married. So
okay.
And her ancestry goes back to 1200s. I've got that all documented from her family, but his is not so easy to find.
Okay. I was curious because I do have some church records from there, but they were from Dolan and Sage, I think is how it's pronounced, Sage. That's where mine were from. So I can go back there to the, 1500s.
Oh, wow.
That long.
Okay, I'm looking through the list to see if there's anybody else that haven't called on. Anybody have something more they want to add?
Did you ask, there's Claudia and Terry Reap still. Did you ask them?
Let's see. Claudia, Terry? Okay.
Oh, this is Claudia.
All right, Claudia.
I just have been working with Angela Johnson. We're cousins, and
Right.
we're trying to find our great aunt, Frida T. Roth, who we have where her mother and one of her sisters that had immigrated to the United States then went back in, I believe it was 1914. They went to Leipzig and visited, and we have on the ship manifest that, that's where they had gone and that's who they were visiting. And so, again, it's just one of those things where we keep digging and digging and hoping that it will come up. We wouldn't have even known about Frida's really confirmation of her last name, except when I was researching back before Angela and I got together. We found great grandma's T. Roth's Wilhelmina Canal was her maiden name, then T. Roth. And then when she was here, she married a gentleman named Winkleman. And we found, my husband and I worked with my aunt, and we found the cemetery where she was buried in San Antonio, the Lutheran cemetery. And here she was with her daughter that had immigrated with her, and the daughter's son and daughter who had also died over here. But then there were all these Roths buried in this plot all together. And I was like, what's going on? And so went to the courthouse there to see if there were any records that, we could dig up. And one of the very nice clerks says, oh, look, here is Wilhelmina Winkleman's will. And so that was a bonus find. But then just saw that Max Roth, who was Frida's son that had immigrated, he was also her executor. And then we dug into that and found out his immigration. He came over and his destination was his grandmother, Wilhelmina. So, we know who we're looking for. It's just she isn't there in records. So that's all.
Do you have any other names for her? Like, for example, a lot of times they have like 3-4 names, and so Wilhelmina might have been the name she went by, but not her real first name. And so you might be missing it, if you will, because of that.
Right. We have, of course, there weren't a whole lot of T. Roths, and it was spelled Tieroff. Tiroff is how it was spelled here in the United States most of the time. THIE. So, we're going through all the different spellings. Yes, we have found all the extra names for the 3 siblings, but we have not been able to find, Frida. And of course, we've opened our search to something more than just, looking specifically for Frida. Because we're open to any T. Roths we can find, because they just might be a relative. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. When you find somebody in a cemetery, always look around at the neighboring sites. I made that mistake. My great-great-grandparents, first time I went there, the cemetery association said, well, there's only the 2 people buried in that plot. But only because I went back a second time to put flowers did I notice a matching headstone right next to my great-great-grandmother's. And in fact, it was their daughter under her married name. And there they were. So sometimes you get this tunnel vision and you only see the one. So if you find somebody in a record, in the cemetery, or whatever, always look around and keep track of who the neighbors were, both in things like a census or any city or whatever, but also cemeteries. And like you said, the spelling, spelling was an optional kind of thing. You have the issue of the, who's writing it down, and is that necessarily the person who's saying the name? The person saying the name, probably not as much in Germany where they're a little bit better educated. But my Irish relatives, they couldn't read or write, so and they're speaking Gaelic, and the person writing it down is English, and then the record is there, and then somebody comes through to index it. And as Anne was pointing out in our informal discussion before the meeting, and some folks joined, that the indexers, again, some are professional, or we had to mention if they're, ones that speak that language, they're a lot more familiar than ones that may be volunteers from another country trying to figure out yet somebody else's handwriting. So spelling is sort of an optional kind of thing, and it's good to hear that you're looking at all the possible variants and invariants in some cases. I have Meissners that end up appearing as Mason, which hardly even sounds like it. If you sort of, what's all the ways you could pronounce and mispronounce the name, and how might you spell it? So lots of opportunities that way as well. So I wish you luck with that. Let's see, Terry Reap. Anything you want to add?
Well, I'll add something very quickly. Recently, like was mentioned earlier, a lot of the German genealogy societies have been giving presentations on what their holdings are at the archives and what's online for free, and it's just totally awesome. I'm going to put a file into the chat. Hopefully, you can grab it. That talks about some of the ones that have happened recently. And what this, I gotta find it here in my computer. What this is going to show you is just how to get to some of those websites. And I don't know if they're going to apply to you. So I'm trying to get there real quickly here. Yeah, there we go. Get this out of the way, and okay. Anyway, it just gives you and this should pop up in the chat in a minute here, theoretically. Did it go? No. You see it yet?
Not yet.
So I click on file. Okay, more. Okay. File. And it asked me to find it in my computer. I found it on my computer. This usually works. It's a PDF file. So open. There it goes. Okay.
There we are.
Okay. So it just gives a few websites of some of the genealogy societies, not all of them in Germany, just a few that have done some presentations recently. And so maybe you can, now I also want to point out that one of the presenters was saying, hey, check everybody's, because like, for example, in some of the areas in northern Germany, some of their records are over in Berlin, and some of their records are in, another part of Germany, because they don't have any place for them right now, and they're, have to get their library built up again. So you can check these various websites and see if they have some information on your family. I don't have a Hanover. I have a Westfalen in there, which is sort of close. I'm not sure where Oldenburg. There's several Oldenburgs, so I wasn't sure which one you're referring to, but I don't have anything on Hanover or Saxony as a whole. But there may be something in some of those websites that might help.
Okay, all right. I don't see the file. Did you send it to everyone?
Yeah, in chat, if you go to chat, click on chat, Maybe
Yep.
school.
Last thing I see is from Ed.
Okay, came after that.
There's a little scroll bar. You may have to, on the right of the window,
Scroll down.
down. It's from Dallas Genealogy SIGs to everyone.
Yeah, it didn't show up. How weird.
I can try again. I'll post it one more time here.
Angela, I was able to grab it.
Okay, you can.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
what
well,
cousins
good.
are for.
Exactly, that's what cousins are for. Okay, it posted a second time as well. So at least your cousin was able to see it and grab it down and open it up. So anyway, hopefully that helps a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Okay, anybody have any last things they want to add, comment, whatever? Okay, so again, I encourage you, if you haven't already, join our Facebook group. We'll be posting things throughout the summer. We sort of take the summer off, so our next meeting will be in September. And looking at the calendar, the society, the general meeting is the first Saturdays, which will be the 4th. And it's only if they move to the second one that we have to switch from morning to afternoon. At least at that point, I don't see any reason why that would occur. So it'll be on September 11th. Day we don't want to remember too much. Maybe we do want to remember. But that'll be the date for our next meeting. In the meantime, everybody have a great summer. Enjoy your chance to research as you can. And again, this session has been recorded, and within a couple days will appear on our website there at the bottom of the page if you want to review that again. And again, as I say, join our Facebook group. And in the interim, if on the website is also the email address that Ann and I will see, the GGG one. If you want to contact us directly that way, feel free to. So thank you much for being here today. Good luck with your research. See you in September and on Facebook in between. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a production of the Dallas Genealogical Society. If you're already a member, thank you. If you're not a member, please consider joining now by going to dallasgenealogy.com and clicking on the membership tab. Your membership dues will help us support the genealogy section of the Dallas Public Library, and it will allow us to continue our education and preservation efforts.